2012, or 24 TB, Windows Server 2016/2019, of physical random access memory, RAM, .88. LLP64 data model. Int and long types are 32 bits wide, long is 64 bits, while pointer sound types derived from pointers are 64 bits wide. Kernel mode device drivers must be 64-bit versions. There is no way to run 32-bit kernel mode executables within the 64-bit operating system. User mode device drivers can be either 32-bit or 64-bit. 16-bit Windows, Win16, and DOS applications will not run on X86-64 versions of Windows due to the removal of the Virtual DOS Machine Subsystem, NTVDM, which relied upon the ability to use Virtual 8086 mode. Virtual 8086 mode cannot be entered while running in long mode. Full implementation of the NX, no execute, page protection feature. This is also implemented on recent 32-bit versions of Windows when they are started in PAE mode. Instead of FS segment descriptor on X86 versions of the Windows NT family, GS segment descriptor is used to point to two operating system-defined structures, thread information block, NT_TIB, in user mode and processor control region, KPCR, in kernel mode. Thus, for example, in user mode GS0 is the address of the first member of the thread information block. Maintaining this convention made the X86-64 port easier, but required AMD to retain the function of the FS and GS segments in long mode even though segmented addressing per SE is not really used by any modern operating system. 84. Early reports claimed that the operating system scheduler would not save and restore the X87 FPU machine state across thread context switches. Observed behavior shows that this is not the case. The X87 state is saved and restored, except for kernel mode only threads, a limitation that exists in the 32-bit version as well. The most recent documentation available from Microsoft states that the X87/MMX/3D now instructions may be used in long mode, but that they are deprecated and may cause compatibility problems in the future. 87. Some components like JET database engine and data access objects will not be ported to 64-bit architectures such as X86-64 and IA64. 89, 90, 91. Microsoft Visual Studio can compile native applications to target either the X86-64 architecture, which can run only on 64-bit Microsoft Windows, or the IA32 architecture which can run as a 32-bit application on 32-bit Microsoft Windows or 64-bit Microsoft Windows in WAL64 emulation mode. Managed applications can be compiled either in IA32, X86-64 or any CPU modes. Software created in the first two modes behave like their IA32 or X86-64 native code counterparts respectively. When using the any CPU mode, however, applications in 32-bit versions of Microsoft Windows run as 32-bit applications while they run as a 64-bit application in 64-bit editions of Microsoft Windows. Video game consoles. Both PlayStation 4 and Xbox One and their variants incorporate AMD X86-64 processors, based on the Jaguar microarchitecture. 92, 93. Firmware and games are written in X86-64 code. No legacy X86 code is involved. Their next generations, the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X and Series S respectively, also incorporate AMD X86-64 processors, based on the Zen 2 microarchitecture. 94. 95. Industry naming conventions. Since AMD 64 and Intel 64 are substantially similar, many software and hardware products use one vendor-neutral term to indicate their compatibility with both implementations. AMD's original designation for this processor architecture, X86-64, is still sometimes used for this purpose, too, as is the variant X86-64.34. Other companies, such as Microsoft, 6, and Sun Microsystems /Oracle Corporation, 5, use the contraction X64 in marketing material. The term IA64 refers to the Itanium processor, and should not be confused with X86-64, as it is a completely different instruction set. Many operating systems and products, especially those that introduced X86-64 support prior to Intel's entry into the market, use the term AMD 64 or AMD64 to refer to both AMD 64 and Intel 64. AMD64 most BSD systems such as FreeBSD, Midnight BSD, NetBSD and OpenBSD refer to both AMD 64 and Intel 64 under the architecture name AMD64. Some Linux distributions such as Debian, Ubuntu, Gentoo Linux refer to both AMD 64 and Intel 64 under the architecture name AMD64. Microsoft Windows's x64 versions use the AMD 64 moniker internally to designate various components which use or are compatible with this architecture. For example, the environment variable processor _architecture is assigned the value AMD 64 as opposed to x86 in 32-bit versions, and the system directory on a Windows x64 edition installation CD-ROM is named AMD 64, in contrast to i386 in 32-bit versions. 96. Sun Solaris's ESOList command identifies both AMD 64 and Intel 64 based systems as AMD64. Java Development Kit, JDK. The name AMD64 is used in directory names containing x86-64 files. x86-64 the Linux kernel, 97, and the new compiler collection refers to 64-bit architecture as x86-64. Some Linux distributions, such as Fedora, OpenSUSE, Arch Linux, Gentoo Linux refer to this 64-bit architecture as x86-64. Apple Mac OS refers to 64-bit architecture as x86-64 or x86-64, as seen in the terminal command Arch, 3, and in their developer documentation. 2.4. Breaking with most other BSD systems, Dragonfly BSD refers to 64-bit architecture as x86-64. Haiku refers to 64-bit architecture as x86-64. Licensing. x86-64 /AMD64 was solely developed by AMD. AMD holds patents on techniques used in AMD 64 winking sad smiley 98, 99, 100. Those patents must be licensed from AMD in order to implement AMD 64. Intel entered into a cross-licensing agreement with AMD, licensing to AMD their patents on existing x86 techniques, and licensing from AMD their patents on techniques used in x86-64. 101. In 2009, AMD and Intel settled several lawsuits and cross-licensing disagreements, extending their cross-licensing agreements. 102, 103, 104. See also. AMD Generic Encapsulated Software Architecture, AJSA. IA32.
Yes, almost finished, but let's read this.
X86. Notes. 1. Various names are used for the instruction set. Prior to the launch, X86-64 and X86-64 were reused, while upon the release AMD named it AMD 64.1. Intel initially used the names IA32 and M64T before finally settling on Intel 64 for its implementation. Some in the industry, including Apple, 2, 3, 4, use X86-64 and X86-64, while others, notably Sun Microsystems, 5, now Oracle Corporation, and Microsoft, 6, use X64. The BSD family of OSs and several Linux distributions, 7, 8, use AMD 64, as does Microsoft Windows internally. 9, 10. 2. In practice, 64-bit operating systems generally do not support 16-bit applications, although modern versions of Microsoft Windows contain a limited workaround that effectively supports 16-bit install shield and Microsoft Acme installers by silently substituting them with 32-bit code. 12. References. 1. Debian AMD 64 FAQ.
Not read that, but I like to record. Just scroll slowly through, because in the end of document I can see when it was last edited. So I just scroll through. My camcorder will record, but some documents have like more than 100 references. Yes, I need to do that every time I record. I'm reading. I have to download the latest version. Yes, but we have recorded 33 minutes. We got some few minutes left, so I'm not in super hurry. So that's a lot of reference. We're not going to, but I have to stop. If I'm just scrolling super fast through my camcorder, you cannot stop the video. So I have to do something like this. Maybe somebody like to watch it. Yes, that's part of the document, all this notes. But that's many notes like this one. That's really many, more than hundreds. External links. Yes, this was last edited the 9th April. Actually, I could have downloaded a new one. So, but we're not going to read all this again. And there will be more new versions. But I just download the latest version of this one, a sample language. That's from like yesterday, 12th June. Last edit, 12th June, so I need to do that. And I have a folder. I have a folder on my computer called Finish Reading. I need a fresh copy. Sometimes I just open to read about some list of Intel CPUs or something. I need to have the latest version. So, and I was thinking about to make a new some kind of read lists, but that's too late now. It's 11 p.m. I'll not do more today. I will upload this. Yes, I was just to look list of Intel CPUs. I was to download. I did start to download a fresh copy of all, but that's too complicated because I have so many. I have 500. No, I think when I start going through the Intel, but that will be a long time before I go there. When you start to read about the Intel, I will start again everything I did not read, then I will read everything again in the right orders. I have to write this read list again, this page there. But before that I have to read all this, so there could be yes, many weeks. So I look at that because I was in the bookshop. And buy some more paper. So yes, but I need to make a kind of new read lists, and every time I cannot do that with one hand. I have to put my camcorder down. I cannot just take a paper like that. I have to do it careful like this. So I will start again and do the list of that something list I can use every year or every second year. Every year I will read it again. This one, number one, will be yes, list of yes, that's kind of new, but I'll do it like this slow, but not scrolling back because I'm going to do something here. So I'll make a kind of new read lists with the Intel something I like. I did that, but I will use this one and my own one. But that's too late to do it. That's too late to do it. It's almost 11. I think I will stop the video and I will upload this, and I will get some sleep. I will get some sleep, and I need a shower and a shaving tomorrow. So I'll just continue tomorrow.